One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
This is Neil Armstrong. He and Buzz Aldrin were the first men on the moon and were the men on the Apollo 11 mission, the most popular space mission in history. This is Michael Collins, the man who made that mission happen. Though he didn't set foot on the moon like Aldrin and Armstrong, he was the third man on the mission to the moon and is the most forgotten. Michael Collins was born on October 31st, 1930, in Rome, Italy. He traveled with his father, James Collins, who was a U.S. military attaché, and was posted in many locations around the world by the Army. He hopped from where he was born in Rome to places like New York and Puerto Rico, where he grew an affinity to flight. This is where he flew for the first time in a Grumman Widgeon, and it was certainly not the last. He went wherever his father was deployed, crossing countries and moving schools throughout most of his childhood. Collins and his family finally settled in D.C., where they stayed until he graduated from St. Albans School at 17. Collins enlisted in the U.S. Air Force with the wonder for innovation in aeronautics and fear of nepotism from his father preventing him from joining the Army, which his older brother had already done. Collins was in the military for over a decade, beginning in 1952 and ending his Air Force career in 1963. In that time, Collins had logged over 3,000 hours of flight time, and on October 14, 1963, he received an acceptance to his application of becoming an astronaut. He went through intensive training through the NASA program, and in 1966, he saw just how far his innovations of flight had really gone. The Gemini 10 mission was Collins' first mission in space, and this mission was meant to establish equipment and advancements in preparation for the Apollo missions. Collins checked equipment and did multiple spacewalks on the outside of the spacecraft. After Gemini 10, he was taken off the primary crew for the Apollo 9 mission due to cervical disc herniation, which put him in a neck brace for about 3 months. He was removed from the primary team for Apollo 9 and instead put on the Apollo 11 mission, which was much more groundbreaking than the Apollo 9 was. The injuries led him to be on the most popular mission to space in history. The Apollo 11 mission is one of the most televised events in history, and around a fifth of the world's population were gazing up at the stars as these three men touched down on what most only dreamed of, the moon. Millions still talk about it today, and that technological breakthrough is one that has paved the road in space exploration and discovery. It showed humanity how far we were able to go, and gave us the motivation to explore even more vast spaces, like launching the Hubble telescope and sending Curiosity to Mars, both of which have used technology developed for these missions. The space race was a prominent issue during this time, and the Apollo 11 mission ended that, bringing nations together to watch and settling this one-up contest with Russia. The Apollo 11 mission is one of the many examples of technological advancements, and definitely one of the most infamous. Wi-Fi, telephones, and entertainment are thanks to the efforts at NASA, as well as inspiring 652 million people to do whatever they put their minds to.
Astronauts report it feels good. T-minus 25 seconds. 20 seconds and counting. T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
Plus 30 seconds.
Collins, Armstrong, and Aldrin left Cape Canaveral, Florida at 8:32 a.m. on July 16, 1969. The Apollo 11 mission lasted a total of 8 days, 3 hours, 18 minutes, and 35 seconds, where the Apollo 11 spacecraft flew to the moon, touched down, relaunched from the moon, and re-entered Earth's atmosphere. There was a whole slew of processes that had to be expertly timed to make sure the astronauts had enough time to make it back, involving trajectories and velocities that were insanely complex to calculate. Collins was the one in charge of keeping those in line, orbiting the moon while both Aldrin and Armstrong were on the surface. He spent around 28 hours alone in space, waiting and guiding his 2 crewmates to the surface of the moon, where they made history. Once Aldrin and Armstrong had completed their EVA on the moon and completed their mission, Collins, up in the command module, helped them redock their module to the ship, then made their way back to Earth. After the mission, Collins was dubbed the loneliest man in the world because of his time in the command module.
I discovered later that I was described as the loneliest man ever in the universe or something, which really is a lot of baloney. I mean, I had mission control yakking in my ear half the time. So I felt that strongly, but I didn't feel it as loneliness. I certainly didn't feel it as fear. I felt it as awareness, almost a feeling of exaltation. I liked it. It was a good feeling.
And what I was worried about was the white mice. Because when we came back from the moon, we were going to be in quarantine for a couple of weeks with a whole colony of white mice. And if one of those poor little things didn't do too well, we were in deep trouble. We might have brought back some pathogen. So every time I was asked, weren't you the most lonely one? Whatever, I could think of it as, oh God, those poor little white mice, I hope they're doing all right. So I was very happy. It was a happy home.
Yeah.